In the darkest nights, we find our light, battered souls, but we won't lose sight. Surviving together, never alone. Through every trial, we carry on. Surviving together, never alone. Through every trial, we carry on. Surviving together, we stand tall. United forever. Strength and courage will overcome. Oh, surviving together, victorious, never, never alone. Hand in hand, we'll face the unknown.
We see you, we hear you, and we believe you. Hey, everyone. How you doing tonight? It is a very, very muggy Wednesday night here in Michigan. You've landed at Surviving Together, a safe space for trauma survivors to connect and come together, build community on their healing journeys, as well as providing trauma-related education for all. So I have a show tonight that is near and dear to my heart. We're going to be talking about trauma and perfectionism. Definitely think something that I have struggled with my entire life. And so we're going to talk about the connection between the two. How do you recognize it? Where does it come from? And what can we do to really overcome it? So let's just see who is here right now. We have Indigo here sending love and light to Matt, to me. That's wonderful. Crystal was here. She's going to catch replay. She's spending the evening with Kim for belated birthday celebration. So again, happy belated birthday to you. So it was her birthday was last Wednesday. And Carmel is here. How are you doing, Carmel? I hope all is well in your world. My son is selling one of his cars tonight, right now, actually, and there may be a slight issue with a bank transfer. So if I have to go off screen for a little bit to deal with that, I'll let you know. But hopefully we won't. Hopefully that the interruption won't be. We also have a major thunderstorm that is just passing through right now. StreamYard was laggy and delaying. I restarted the computer just to hopefully close as much as possible, windows and things like that. So hopefully there won't be much of a delay. Seeing a little bit of a delay between talking and watching myself on the screen. Can anybody else notice that, or is it just me? I know other people have said they've been having problems with StreamYard lately, so it may just be StreamYard in general. It's definitely lagging. I don't like this. It's going to make for watching very uncomfortable. Yeah, nice. There was the little circle again. So can you guys hear me? Carmel, you may be the only one left here. I'm not sure. If we have too many problems with this, I may end the stream and do this another night. But we'll see how it goes. If everything looks okay to you, Carmel. Okay, well, we'll just motor on then, and we'll see how it goes. If you start noticing any problems, big delays, let me know. So Trauma and perfectionism. Is there a connection? There 100% is a connection. Now, does this mean if you're a perfectionist that it necessarily came from trauma? No, but it most certainly is a characteristic of having trauma in your background, particularly childhood trauma. Hey, Misha, how are you? Glad you're working. Okay, everything's working good for you too. All right, well, we'll just keep going then. So, CPTSD, childhood trauma, right? It is at the root cause, or the root of it is this not feeling safe in your environment for some reason, whatever that trauma is that is causing you not to feel safe. And so particularly if you have parents and or siblings who are abusive to you, are neglectful, um, or have abandoned you in your childhood, that certainly creates an environment of not feeling safe. For me, I definitely felt abandoned by my brother. I never really felt a love from him. And the emotional neglect for me was definitely um, more on my father's side. I knew my mom loved me, but there wasn't a nurturing of different characteristics. It was more kind of just making sure you're living and surviving. And, if you need extra hugs, come to me. Um, but not so much, the everyday, nurturing. And I will say, especially for my mom, there definitely was when I was younger, right? When I was a young child. But I will say, as I say 6 plus, that I certainly felt like it weaned off a little bit. And I don't know if that was a product of, you know, her working and discovering another part of her life, or if it was, kind of the weaning off as you grow, trying to give you your space and things of that nature, who knows. Um, but I definitely, my dad always had these standards. He is military. And even though you could take him out of the military, but you're never going to take the military out of him. So there was always a standard that you were trying to reach, and it was perfection, which is impossible to do. They're setting you up for failure. And even though he didn't see it at that time, right? I mean, he wasn't trying to be mean. He wasn't trying to screw me up. That was just the way. And I don't know if that's how he learned growing up, but I know he certainly got that from the military, that you do well, there's always a higher bar that you can set, right? So this, being abused or neglected, abandoned, and or all of it creates this deep rooted shame, right? This fear of abandonment, this fear of being rejected. Your needs aren't being met. Your needs for respect, your needs for love aren't being met. And so this shame brings about a whole host of negative emotions, fear and anger and guilt. And we can't resolve that. And so we can't get the validation from ourselves because of all of this negative stuff. So we're looking to others to validate ourselves. And when it comes to, perfectionism, there's lots of ways of dealing with shame and dealing with fears. And one of the ways that our brain tries to deal with these impossible standards, with these feelings of abandonment, with these feelings of neglect, this fear, is by saying, okay, well, I can't be my authentic self, right? Because we're being told by those standards that our authentic self isn't good enough. We're never good enough. We can never meet that bar. So we'll put on masks and we try on different ones and see what works. And we can have many, right? These are all coping skills. They're all coping mechanisms. So you may become a people pleaser. You may become a control freak. You may become extremely manipulative. You may become very codependent. So, rescuing another person, and to the degree where you're giving up your own self and you're just trying to save this other person. Or you cannot set boundaries at all, because setting boundaries means conflict, and that's one thing we're trying to avoid. Perfectionism is just yet another way of coping with this. And there are basically, there's a sense that if I'm perfect, then I'll be safe, right? If I'm perfect, I won't have to be rejected. If I'm perfect, I don't fail. If I'm perfect, I'll be loved. I'll be accepted. And we're looking for that respect then, and that validation um, from others. And by trying to be perfect, we're if I'm perfect, there's no reason to look at me, right? The house will run smooth. You're not going to be a burden to others. You won't be punished if we could just do everything perfect. And there's an excellent video, and I'm going to post it. I'll post it afterwards um, in the description section, by Tim Fletcher. And I'm going to play a little bit of this video because he goes through these 31 characteristics of perfectionists, right? But I'll tell you, just thinking about myself and this coping skill that I learned, I basically got praise from my dad when I did well, right? So I was always striving to be the best. And usually it was academic. Um, that's where his emphasis lied. But if I came home with an A minus, it's, well, why wasn't it an A? If you came home with a B, well, why wasn't it in an A? What didn't you know on it? And, there were times where I would have to rework math problems to show that I knew how to do it, even though it wasn't a requirement, for the teacher. I mean, I did have homework assignments. Sometimes you would have a test and you'd miss some, and then they would have you go back and rework the ones you missed to, it doesn't improve your grade, but it was just practice basically. So there's this always the sense of no matter what I did, it wasn't good enough. Cleaning the house. Uh, we had this coffee table. My parents, I think, still have it today. Or no, they don't. They don't have that coffee table anymore. But it was fairly recently that they actually got rid of it. But it had those spindle legs, right? So there's all those nooks and crannies in it. And I'd have to clean it and dust it with pledge, right? And get all the dirt out and right. And I could do a really good job, but then I missed 3 spots, right? You could see this ring around there that I didn't get in that cranny, good enough, and I'd have to redo it. I vacuum. Did you vacuum the ceilings? Did you vacuum the walls? And some of you out there may be going, what? Well, there could be cobwebs there and you don't see them. So, I mean, we had to clean every surface. So I put this burden on myself of trying to be perfect at everything. And when we go through some of these characteristics, I'm going to stop at a little bit, and I'll interject kind of, where I see myself in. And it doesn't mean that you're not a perfectionist if you don't have all 31 of these, okay? It's just if you developed perfectionism as a coping skill, you will see a lot. I'm going to bet you're going to just go, yep, yep, yep. Maybe not so much, or maybe not so much now if you've, healed from certain aspects of your trauma. I'm reading my notes real quick, guys, because I wanted to do this in a certain order, and it's not the order my notes are in. So yeah, we internalize this message of I'm not good enough. My authentic self is not worthy, is not valuable the way it is. I have to do better. I have to be better. And I'm seeing in the comments a lot of you guys shaking your heads going, Jimena, welcome, by the way, tonight. Been there, done that. Misha, we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about this in a minute. Perfectionism, how it can lead to almost literally freezing. Yeah, Kermel says very recognizable. Yeah. I really am working on the ums, but it's definitely my Achilles heel. Maybe I don't recognize it until the word's already out of my mouth. So let's just talk about perfectionism a little bit as a coping skill. It's a way to take control, in situations where we feel powerless or our environment is out of control. By being perfect, we can then control the narrative. It's also a means of striving for acceptance from others, this outside validation. And this is compensating for our own internal feelings of unworthiness. Hey, Desi, how you doing? Glad you're here tonight. As I said before, you strive to be perfect. We're avoiding, the bad things that might come. We're avoiding the punishment, avoiding being rejected. for not being good enough. Seeking to be perfect is also a way of combating low self-esteem, which really kind of goes hand in hand with this message of I'm not good enough. And it's ironic in a way because, take my situation where that bar was always set so high. And as soon as you got close to it, or even if you thought you attained it, it was moved. So it's like, hey, I did it. I was perfect. Well, what could you have done to make it better? Is there any extra credit that you could do? Even if you got 100% on a test or something, was there any extra credit? Can you bump it up even more? What else could you do? And so in this drive to instill in our children the lesson of you know trying to do better, of always pushing yourself, right? It really has almost a converse effect, because we're being told in essence that we're not good enough by ourselves. We're not good enough unless we meet that bar. And so we can develop really low self-esteem. And so we try to be perfect to, combat that. And it really becomes this cycle, like a lot of things in trauma are, right? Okay. Um, One of the things that I just want to mention before we get into these 31 characteristics is, I keep saying that perfectionism is a coping mechanism. And I truly believe that. Now, there are therapists and psychologists, doctors out there who call it a personality trait that you've developed as a result of the childhood trauma. But I don't see that. I mean, personality traits are these stable um, ways of traits that cause us to look at the world a certain way, to um, how we identify ourselves. It affects our behavior totally. It influences how we react in general. Whereas coping skills these are things that we adopt to deal with stress, anxiety, adversity, and they're not as immutable as our personality traits. And so when I look at perfectionism, and I look at really what causes it, right? I personally believe it is much more of a coping mechanism. And so I'm in line with that field. So just, a little caveat, I guess, on why I'm saying things the way that I am. See, this is great, Deodric, and this is something that we're going to talk about. Um, she says, my parents made plenty of mistakes, but I think they did me a favor by insisting that the outcome didn't matter as much as me trying my best. Failure was acceptable, laziness was not. And we're going to touch on this even more, and perhaps I should have just started and waited for later to bring that up. But it is such an important point in terms of how to get out of this cycle of reaching for outside validation through our search to always be perfect. That we're focusing not on the outcomes, but on our behavior, on our actions, trying to get to a specific outcome. So before we speak more on that, let me hang on. I'm going to see if I can do this way. No, I can't. Darn it all. Okay. I'm going to play this. And I think it's 6 or 7 minutes, but I'm going to be talking through it. And these are the characteristics of perfectionism.
So, number one, you feel like you're going to fail at everything you try. You'll just not be able to do it perfectly honest and authentic and share your thoughts and feelings with others. For fear, they won't see you in the same way. They'll see you as weak. Controlling, needing to have everything just so with
So I'm gonna stop it there. So yeah, StreamYard is definitely having some issues. It could be my internet because of the storm. It's kind of coming and going in waves right now in terms of our store, the storm out there. So Misha, the audio could be a little weird. I'm not sure. Like I said, StreamYard's been having problems for a lot of people. The sound is off in me talking or in the video. Let me know, because if it's the video, then I can just talk through these. Can you guys hear? You can hear me, but you can't hear the video that I'm sharing. It's the video. Okay. Well, we can just talk through this then. Because let me check over here. Yeah, the sound's on. I'm not sure why you guys can't hear it. I don't know. Like I said, I know there's been problems tonight, so apologies. Well, let's talk about this. When you're a perfectionist, you feel like you might fail at everything you try because you want to be absolutely perfect at it. And there's this fear of failure. Now, Desi said he heard it. So it may just be StreamYard. I have no idea. This aspect of controlling, the need to control things, this certainly was myself. Now, I have gotten a lot better at this, but I couldn't be perfect unless things were done my way, right? I knew certain ways on how to do things. And if you didn't have my stuff set up this way, or if you weren't following, how I thought things should go, say in a group project at school, it was difficult for me to do my best. So I was very, very controlling. My father is a perfectionist, and he's extremely controlling. And so the apple doesn't fall from the tree, when you start projecting these things onto your children, right? Hi, Ellen. How you doing? I hope all is well tonight with you. You just saw this title and went, "Oh God, it's me." Yeah. I was looking for a title today, and I was in another live, and somebody was talking about being perfect and how it wasn't possible, and it it just kind of slapped me upside the face. And I started thinking about, trauma and being a perfectionist. So you might be a perfectionist if, kind of like you might be a redneck if you're obsessed with rules, lists, and work. Or alternatively, you're extremely apathetic when it comes to any of that. Now, I am definitely, when it comes to rules, I've gotten a lot better. But in my household growing up, rules were there for a reason. And the reason that they were there was because if you followed this rule, then you would do your best. Right? So if you deviated from that, you weren't going to do your best. And this was a real bone of contention, actually, when I was living with my parents after the divorce, with my son, and trying to raise him and allowing him to explore and figure things out on his own, and not tell him what the best way was to do something. Letting him figure it out. And maybe he'd come to the same outcome, but he got there a different way. Does that mean that his way was any less perfect, was any less good? And I had a lot of conflict with my father in regards to this, because it was, there's a way to do things, and why are you allowing him to just go through this when you could give him the answer and tell him how to do it? So, and a lot of that, it comes from the age in which he was raised, and he was raised with lots of rules, and this is the way things were, and father knows best, and all of that. And my list, my to-do list, oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm obsessed with my to-do list, and not as much as my dad is. Oh my gosh. I mean, he's I've gotten better with them. I still rely on them for organizational purposes, definitely, to keep things in mind. Hey Deaudre, hey Aria, how are you guys doing tonight? I'm really glad that you guys are here. I use them in much more of a positive way, and not so much as, here's everything on my to-do list, and if I don't get to everything in the time frame that I've set down for them, then I failed. And that really definitely used to be for me. The other, where it says alternatively we can become extremely apathetic to things, this is, again, it goes back to that fear of failure. And there's like a fear of starting a task, because you're not going to finish it in the time frame that you have, that you think you can't do it. And so why even start it, because you're not going to be able to do it perfect. And this can lead to procrastination, which is actually another trait of perfectionism, because why start it if we're not going to be able to do it perfectly? So tasks that we might not feel comfortable with, or we've got so much else on our plate right now, we know that we don't have the time to devote to that particular task, that that we'd be able to do it perfectly. And this goes to what Deaudre was really saying, in terms of like how her parents raised her. Viewing the end product as the most important part of the undertaking. You might be a perfectionist. So it's the outcome that is the most important part. Not how you're getting there, not your actions as you're going, but getting that perfect result. and just totally focused on that. Also, you don't see a task as finished until the result is perfect. So you may continue to work on something even though it is good enough, and it's good enough for the project that you're working on, or to get whatever it is done, but it could be better. And I look at that as, like some of the things with my channel. There's always more research that I could do. There's always more that I could learn. So am I not going to present a topic to you because I don't know absolutely everything about it? No, I can't. I mean, I really wouldn't have this channel very much, because there's always going to be something more for me to learn. So I've had to learn when something is good enough, when I've done enough research to cover my bases, to accomplish the goal that was set out, and to be able to put forth a well-rounded argument or presentation. And, that's not only with this channel, but it's with my work as well, because I do like to have the answer. So when I'm looking at a document and I'm trying to decide, is this relevant? Is this not relevant? The guidelines that I'm given, okay, I need more information. And they're not going to be able to set all those guidelines down. We have to use our judgment, and we have to say, yeah, okay, based on everything I have, this is where I'm thinking, and move on. And be able to work through all the documents that we have, and not spend 10 minutes staring at a document and dissecting every little piece of it to try to get the right answer. So taking an excessive amount of time to complete a task because you're trying to get every little detail right. That's where, say, like the thumbnails for here. I mean, I could spend an eternity trying to research how to make a perfect thumbnail, and looking at other people, and learning more about color schemes and what goes with what, and spacing, and all of that. But I only have a certain amount of time in my day for the priorities that are in front of me. So I've had to learn that X, Y, or Z is good enough. Maybe I'll come back and change it later on. I can always go back and look at my thumbnails and make them better as I learn more. But I can only put a certain amount of time into it. So obsessive thinking, overthinking, thinking and thinking and thinking, and I look at this in terms of my research, right? Trying to make something, better, and you think you've got a really great project, but where could I, there's more that I could add there. Oh, I don't think I know 100% on that. And we set ourselves up, right? Because when we're always searching to make it better and to make it perfect, there's always something more that we think that we could add to it, and we chasing a ghost, right? We're going after an impossibility. Let me move this forward just a little bit.
Are you covered by one of these health insurance plans?
Okay.
You may be able to see a personal dietitian.
Okay. So yeah, never satisfied with yourself or what you do. is a trait of being a perfectionist. Unrealistic standards, because I mean, by definition, perfection is an unrealistic standard. Living lives by shoulds. So I should be doing this. I should be doing that. This is something that I came across today, and it really made me stop. Because I realized how often I do say, I should. When I'm feeling down, when I'm feeling unmotivated, when I'm feeling stuck, I will be looking at this and be going, I should be doing this. I should be doing that. If I was only doing this, then things would be better. I'd be better. Instead of focusing on what are the goals that I need to accomplish today, this week, in my life, and how can I get there? Focusing on the I shoulds, the should is that, again, we're putting that focus on the result. And we can often freeze ourselves out of ever attempting it, or not moving towards it, because of the fear of not being able to get there, to that, perfect end result. So also being really hard on ourselves if we fail. I'm much better at this now than I used to be. But when I was a kid, especially a kid and a teen, if I didn't accomplish something, if I wasn't immediately good at something, I got pissed off and I got angry, because right out of the gate, I am so far behind. How am I ever going to reach perfection with this? So if I can't do it well, at least well, initially, I wouldn't do it. I just wouldn't even try. That practice makes perfect thing. No. That's why most musical instruments went by the wayside fairly quickly, because it wasn't something I was easily able to grasp. And so I'd get very frustrated, and I didn't have that support of, well, keep going, keep practicing. You're doing well. You are doing well. You're doing well for a beginner. You're doing well for someone who's only been doing this a month. Yeah, lot of things, sport wise, especially. And honestly, that was the real main reason why I took Taekwondo up, is because here is something, when I did it, somebody, even though my form wasn't perfect, even though I had a ton to learn, I didn't have a lot of power behind my kicks, but here was somebody saying, you're good at this. And I'd never tried it before. And so just that comment was enough for me to feel like, hey, maybe I can put the practice in for this. Without that external validation, I don't know that I would have continued with it. Because again, when, perfectionists, we seek that external validation. Looking down on others, it can be is a characteristic of perfectionism, being a perfectionist. So if somebody else does something, but they're not doing it to the level that you think it should be done, again, there's that should word, we can be very hard on them and treat them unkind and be very unfavorable. And that is not healthy. Feeling guilty if we relax, feeling guilty if we say no, rejecting the weak parts of ourselves. Again, this just what I was talking about with music and sports in general. If I wasn't good at something, I just wasn't going to try it. It's just rejected outright. Difficulty accepting our limitations. 100% for me. A lot better on it now, but there are definitely things that I think I shouldn't have that limitation. If I just did this, if I just did that, if I just tried harder, I'd be able to move beyond that limitation. Having difficulty being vulnerable, having difficulty with emotions. I'm pretty good at being able to be vulnerable with somebody. My main difficulty with emotions is more with emotional regulation. And again, that goes right back to trauma. And so working on emotional regulation is definitely something that I'm still dealing with and still having to figure out in some cases. All right, let's look at the last ones of these. Having difficulty with intimacy or intimate relationships, having difficulty with change, the unknown, new jobs that require a lengthy learning curve. Again, this goes back to not being able to be good at something right away. When there is change, when there's the unknown, we're not in control, and that loss of sense of control is a huge fear for perfectionists. Getting depressed by unmet goals. I don't know about you guys, but this one hits me hard because there are certain goals that I have in my daily life, and when I don't meet them, let's take, working 40 plus hours a week. That's a goal of mine because financially I need to. And if for whatever reason I don't meet that goal, I'm extremely hard on myself. I think I've failed. And so it's definitely a depressive, moment for me. And then being in that place, kind of makes you not want to try to meet that goal. And then it becomes the self-fulfilling prophecy that I'm not going to meet that 40 plus hour work week. So that's a huge one for me. Fear of failure, rejection, or abandonment. Remember, being a perfectionist is a way of moving beyond this. Of if we're perfect, we're not failing. If we're perfect, we won't be rejected. If we're perfect, we won't be abandoned. Being controlled by fear. Because we're perfect in order to combat our fear. our fear of powerlessness, our fear of not being loved, our fear of failure, right? So it's a coping mechanism to deal with all of this fear that is inside of us. Perfectionists often don't understand unconditional love. We see that we always have to prove ourselves in order to gain love. So, in relationships, whether it's friendships or an intimate romantic type relationship, accepting that somebody loves us for as much of our authentic selves as we've shown them, loving us for who we are, the way we are right now, flaws and all. That could be very difficult for us to wrap our heads around. I'm much better with it with friendships now. I think I'm in a good place with friendships. I'm not really in a deep romantic relationship right now I don't have unconditional love from any romantic partner, so I don't know how that'll be in the future. We'll just have to see. All or nothing thinking, right? You do it and you do it perfect, or you might as not, or just don't try. If I can't do it perfect, or I'm not going to be able to have the time to put in to make sure it's the best of the best of the best, then just don't do it at all. And there's a couple other ones. So procrastination, like I mentioned before, we resist being perfectionists. We can resist starting a task because we fear we won't be able to do it perfectly. Or we spend an inordinate amount of time doing a task because we're trying to make it perfect. And then that puts us off schedule with other tasks that we need to be doing. So one of the things that we can do with helping to combat our perfectionism and healing ourselves is learning balance. Learning balance between our relationships, work, and our self-care. Learning when enough is enough. Learning when something is good enough and being able to leave it there. Perfectionists often focus on failures more than our successes. So when we think about our life, or we think about what we've done this year, do we think about those things that we've succeeded in first? Is that what drives us forward? Or are we thinking about those things that we didn't accomplish? Are we thinking about the things that we failed at? Or at least in our minds, we perceive as failures. And is that what we're focused on? So if we're able to focus on our successes more, that helps bring us in balance because we're focusing on the positive. Perfectionist or validation comes from external external, from other people, from our accomplishments. It's not who we are ourselves. It's not self-love. We're constantly looking for somebody else to tell us that we're good enough because of something that we've done or something that we've said, not truly believing ourselves that I'm worthy. I'm worthy as I am. Constantly comparing ourselves to others. I'm better at this than I used to be. I still struggle. I still struggle with this, but I am much, much better than I used to be. I don't compare myself to somebody else and say, look at them, they're able to accomplish this. And because I haven't accomplished that same thing, that makes me less than. That used to run my life. There's always going to be somebody out there who is better than you at something. Somebody stronger, faster, thinner, smarter, whatever it is. And so comparing ourselves to others and looking for looking for self-esteem, looking to it's never a positive, because the converse is that we look at somebody, we compare ourselves to them, and from a perfectionist standpoint, we'll say then that we are better than them. And that's that looking down at somebody. And lastly, afraid to ask for help or admit you're struggling. This can be really difficult for perfectionists to do, because we're supposed to be doing it on our own, right? We're seeking that validation for our accomplishments. And if we open up, if we are vulnerable, if we say, I need help, we're admitting that we failed. We are admitting that we're not perfect. And that can be extremely difficult and almost impossible for some people. I used to be like this as a kid. I got over it. And I think for me, I kind of, I don't know, I used it as a stepping stone for my perfectionism. So I didn't look at it as asking help or admitting I was struggling on something as a block. I was able to see that it was a way that I could be better. I just needed that boost, right? And that's part of not being perfect. We can't do everything right all the time. It's just an impossibility. Hey, Thindu, how are you? Welcome. I hope you're having a good evening. Thanks for joining me tonight. So these, so those were the 31 characteristics of being a perfectionist. How many did you check off? I know I spoke through them, right? I spoke through them, and I tell you, I just about checked off every single one of them, at least at one point in a time in my life, right? So how do we heal? How do we do things differently? Well, one of the biggest, as I say, antidote for perfectionism is self-acceptance. I am okay as I am. I am worthy. I am valuable. Who I am, my authentic self with all my flaws, is good enough. Is there room for improvement places? Absolutely. That's just part of trying to better ourselves. But when we can truly accept who we are and value ourselves, love ourselves, not seeking that validation from accolades, our accomplishments, from somebody else having to tell us that we're worthy, that we're loved, that puts us in a much more balanced state. And part of being able to do that is then tracing back, where did we learn this coping skill from? Or say, why did we develop this coping skill? I know where it came from for me. And by being able to look at how I was raised and being able to understand that I was set up for the impossible, understand that I was being inadvertently given the message that I was never good enough. And I'm talking about the parenting that I received particularly. So the neglect aspect of my childhood. It's then easier for me to let go of some of those perfectionist traits. To say that I was good enough as a kid. I was loved for who I was. It's just that in wanting me to be the best version of me, I was measured against these expectations that I was never going to be able to reach or accomplish. Along with that, for me, I look back at my past and my trauma in regards to my abuse, and I'm able to see that I was trying to seek out love by being what somebody else wanted me to be, by doing everything and anything that somebody else wanted me to, regardless of what that was or how I felt about it, because that's how I thought you got love. So for a long time, I carried with me that feeling of, I allowed this abuse to happen because I was seeking their approval. I was seeking their love. I was trying to be the perfect person for them so they would like me. Constantly doing that with friendships. And I had to stop and realize that my desire for, or my need for validation, my need for love from somebody else, made me the perfect target for abusers because I was willing to not have boundaries. I was willing to be a people pleaser. And when I did some inner child work and put myself back in that position, put myself back as that child, with everything that I understand now, I can see how perfect of a target, I made. And it still wasn't my fault. I was taken advantage of by people who knew better. So, practicing self-compassion, trying to love ourselves for who we are, the way we are, can really help break down those perfectionist tendencies. What else do I want to mention in regard to healing? Not focusing on the outcome as much as focusing on, did we do our best? And this goes back to what DeAudrey was saying. Did I do the best that I could with the skills that I have now, with the time constraints that I have? And if the answer is yes, then that's a win. Regardless of whether the actual outcome is what we wanted it to be. So also celebrating all of those little wins that we do have, the little victories. Like I said, if if you got through a day and you brushed your teeth and you took a shower and you actually did some work, or you cleaned your kitchen, or whatever it is, you celebrate each and every one of those things if that's what it takes to feel that we are being successful. We are accomplishing things. And this can go a long way to learning to love ourselves for where we are at that moment in time. I still get worried with work. Monday, I put in a full day. Yesterday, I did not. Yesterday was not a good day. Today's been 50-50, but it's better than zero. So is it where I need it to be? No. Did I try my hardest balancing the other things that I had going on and the things that popped up that were unexpected that I had to deal with? Yeah. Will it be enough to say warrant getting another assignment through this company? I don't know. Unfortunately. Day to day, I just have to do the absolute best that I can. So for me with work, that means reducing the amount of distractions that I have, which means that I'm not really able to get onto YouTube during the day. If I do, it's for a quick minute, popping in, saying hi, and then back to work. And usually I can't even listen because of the amount of focus that my work takes. So after this, I'm gonna grab some dinner and I'm gonna actually try and put another hour's worth of work in. Whether I'll get there, I don't know. It depends on if I'm able to stay awake. In case you can't see, but well, you can now. I've got a little bit of an energy drink here. And you're right, Tiffany. Every day is different, and we do what we can. We may not, Monday, my son was still gone, so I didn't have anything to do with him to worry about. I didn't have to deal with anything with that. And I was just able to focus on me, and nothing else came up, and the cats behaved. And so it was a good day. I was really able to focus on work. Yesterday, I had a lot of things that got thrown at me, from outside and from emotionally inside. And so I didn't get as much work done as I wanted to. Tomorrow's a new day. And hopefully I'll be able to put 8 or 9 hours in tomorrow. We'll have to see. Yeah, DeAudrey, sometimes it's a success just to get through the day. And that's why I say we need to celebrate those little wins. Because that's part of learning to love ourselves. It's part of learning to accept balance in our lives, whatever that means at that particular time. When we're our strongest emotionally, when we've got it together the most, we're going to be able to balance our lives in terms of the amount of things that we do much differently than if we're just starting on our healing journey and we're working through a lot of these things. There are lessons that I share with you that I tell you and that I've learned. And then something will come up and I will realize that it's not that I need to relearn that lesson, but I need to remind myself of it. Right? Camille says, at a certain point in my life, I didn't care anymore, went through a dark period, but after that, I just did what I wanted. My life got better. Living for what others want of you is a real hollow existence. It's not fulfilling. It can't be, because we're not nurturing ourselves. And that's one of the things that perfectionism takes away from us. Always searching for that external, always trying to keep that fear at bay. When we deal with the shame, when we deal with the fear, when we deal with the guilt of our underlying trauma, we don't have a need for this coping skill anymore. Now, there are going to be aspects of it where even if you're dealing fairly well with the underlying trauma, we have become so used to dealing with things a certain way, almost like a habit. And we have to unlearn our perfectionist tendencies and dismantle them. And so we have to be, keenly aware of the fact of when those come out. So one of the last things I want to mention with this, two things actually. One is seeing failures as opportunities to learn, not as the opposite of, or the lack of success. It's part of success. Not everybody's successful at the first time, right? You fail and you fail and you fail, but you learn and you learn and you learn, and eventually you can reach that goal. So again, it's focusing on that journey. It's focusing on our behaviors instead of focusing on just that end goal. And whether or not we meet that end goal that particular way, at that absolute level, by that drop dead time. And if we don't, we failed and we're not worthy. That's the detrimental thinking. So focus on how you're behaving now. Are you trying? Are you doing your best? If the answer is yes, then it's good enough. You are good enough. The other thing I want to mention is distinguishing between excellence and perfectionism. Right? The pursuit of excellence is doing the best that you can with what you have within the time constraints that you are under based on your priorities in life and the balance of your life. That's excellence. Perfectionism is just the unattainable. And by trying to be perfect, we set ourselves up for failure. We're always feeling like we're not good enough. It creates greater shame, more anxiety, problems in our relationships. And so we strive to be more perfect, and the cycle continues. It creates in us this false sense of guilt, guilty for not being perfect, for not doing something perfect. And so we're projecting that upon ourselves, beating ourselves down because of that. And it gets us nowhere. Nowhere positive, anyway. Thank you, Krumel. Thank you. Says help Mac reach one of her goals. There's my GoFundMe. My GoFundMe link. That is for my book launch. Trying to get me to Vancouver, which my passport just came today, guys. I can officially leave the country. I'm so excited. That was a major thing that was on my list for a long time, and I finally got it done and got it in. And yeah, so it came in the mail today. So I'm super, super duper excited. So I can enter Canada. Now it's just a matter of getting the monetary funds to be able to do it. If I don't know if by country, if you can, if there's, if you can't do GoFundMe because of certain countries, I don't know. I've still got my PayPal and my Cash App. And if you need a different way, I don't have a Venmo set up yet for Surviving Together, but if you need a different way other than the GoFundMe, the PayPal, or the Cash App, let me know. Just email me and we can figure it out. But if you can't support me financially at all, $5, $10, $20, whatever, great. Thank you. If you can't, that is fine too, because I understand not everyone is in that position. I am going to be, fundraising for a while now, probably throughout the summer, and you probably get sick of me hearing about it, but if you can share the link out on any of your social medias, whether it is sharing it out here on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, if you've got people you can email the information, that is helpful. That is immensely helpful, because the only way I'm going to reach the $6,000 goal is by getting the information out to as many people as possible, letting them know. And if you can tell those people to share it out, that is a absolute huge help, because my reach only goes so far. And it's you guys who then can repost or post on Instagram, post on Facebook, ask people then to repost it out. If you want to put a comment in yourself as to, why you think it's a worthy cause, do that. I do have a community post, and you can copy the verbiage, directly from there in terms of what it's for. And there's different breakdown of my goals in terms of the monetary goals, where the money is going for, and why I need it. It's for the book launch and blah, blah, blah. So you can copy all that directly from the community post. Or if you need, you can email me and I can send you something as well. But if you can share it out and keep sharing it and encouraging other people to share it, that is a huge, huge, huge help. And I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Those of you who have given financially, thank you, thank you, thank you. You know who you are. I'm leery about ever calling people out unless I have specifically spoken to them and they're like, yeah, it's okay to mention my name on YouTube. So I'll just say, you know who you are, and thank you so much. I have not gotten my birth certificate back yet. I am going to be looking in the mail every single day here coming up. So I just got the passport today. I'm hoping within the next week. So ask me next Wednesday, Kermel, and hopefully I've got my birth certificate back by then. So we shall see. And Audrey says, and all what we need is more anxiety, right? Exactly. Exactly. So I hope that this has been of some help to you. If you've recognized yourself in here, hopefully I've been able to speak to how we can heal ourselves and how we can break ourselves of being a perfectionist. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with wanting to be excellent, of wanting to excel. That's positive. Going after your goals. Absolutely. But perfectionism, while on the surface it sounds good, and unfortunately, in larger society, it's seen as this positive trait, right? Because you work so hard and you're going to be perfect, and your end product is great. But it's actually a negative coping skill because it doesn't serve us in the long run. Learning to love myself, of all the things that I've done in trying to heal from my trauma, it's probably been the number one hardest thing for me. And for me, doing inner child work and being able to tell that child who was in those circumstances, who dealt with those traumatic events, that you are good enough, that you are loved. It was really healing for me. And it was the only thing that kind of nudged that meter for me, that needle, to get me to love myself more today. And that's, where having a trauma-informed therapist can really help in guiding you to the root causes of your trauma, in navigating through dealing with the events and the feelings and all the effects that have come out of that. But like I said in the past, not everybody can afford it. I can't right now. And at least having connection, researching, reading as much as you can on stuff, understanding trauma, understanding traumatic effects, and these coping skills that we do, it can help. can go a long way to helping us heal. Last thing, I'm gonna, well, two things. One, Big Jack story time. He started at 7, about a half hour ago. I'm gonna be headed over there here in just a hot minute. He is celebrating his 50th live. And as a former guest, he's invited me back to just kind of be on the panel and say hey, and wish him a happy 50th. So I'm going to be doing that here in a minute. So if you'd like to follow me over there, you're more than welcome. And just remember, we have our You Matter message project that we just started, that I just launched on Saturday. So leave a message for somebody. Tell them that they matter. Tell them that they're worthy, that they're valuable, that they're stronger than they know, that they're braver than they think. You can do it anonymously. You can leave it in a cafe or in a library book or tape it to a park bench. I mean, whatever. Just where somebody who knows who's going to need that message that day, who ends up finding it. If you're not out and about a lot, you can do it with whoever you live with. And your spouse or your siblings or your children, whoever's around you. And if you don't live with anybody, leave them for yourself. So the other piece of the project is just like the clothesline project. Take a picture of the note, send it to me. I want to make a compilation. And at some unknown point in the future, put them all together and do kind of a montage of all these notes that have been left places. And like I said, you could even leave them on any of the YouTube videos for somebody who comes after this and watches, whether it's this video or one of the other ones. They watch one of the other videos here, and then they're looking at the comments and they see, if you're reading this, I just want to say, whatever it is. So take a screenshot of that and send that to me. Thanks, Kermel. Kermel's put up Big Jack's link right there. So if you wanted to head over and see what he's doing for his 50th live, you can. I'll be there in just a minute. I'm going to take a quick break here and then head over there for just a few minutes before I try and get a little bit of work in. So I'll definitely be starting off the show with the You Matter message project on Saturday to remind everybody about it. And maybe I'll have taken my own pictures by then and at least show you what I've done. Because if I'm putting this project out there, if I am challenging you to do this, to help somebody else feel brighten their day a little bit, I should do it as well, right? And we feel better when we help others as well. So not only are you throwing something out there into the universe and brightening somebody's day who didn't even maybe know that they needed it, but in turn, you're helping yourself. So it's a twofer. Hey, Rick. Thanks for listening in tonight. I really appreciate it. I hope you're doing well. So with that, I will sign off and just say, remember, you are valuable. You are worthy. And you are loved just the way you are for who you are. So hugs and love from me. Mwah. I will see you Saturday at 3 p.m. Surviving Together, never alone. Enjoy the outro, guys.
Through the fire, through the rain, have walked through endless pain, but we stand, we rise again, stronger now, we break the chain. Surviving together, hearts open wide, lifting each other through every tide. The past may have shaped us, but it won't define. Together we heal, together we shine. Every tear, every scar tells the story of who we are. Not just